Good morning, Matteo. How are you?
Good morning to you. I'm fantastic, actually. How are you?
Very good, thank you. So as usual, I am grateful for your time and for your will to share something very specific from a creative point of view about emotional intelligence, leadership, public speaking. We're gonna have a nice chat, and I would ask you to introduce yourself personally and professionally.
Sure. My name is Matteo Bianchi. I am the founder and creative director of Daruma Design. Daruma Design is a London-based studio, and we specialize on creative direction, award-winning interiors, and product design.
Tell us something about you personally.
Personally, I was born and bred in Venice, which is actually quite a bizarre place to grow up, because you think the reality is surrounded by water. You know, you do everything on water and on a boat, and it's been like this for hundreds of years. And then you move out, and you're like, wait a minute, that was quite different. And it's a very, very specific and fascinating place to grow up. That gave me a lot of insight, for that matter. And anyway, that's where I was born and bred. I lived in different cities, and eventually I settled here in London, and I've been in London for the last 20 years, and I still love it, to be honest with you.
Super, thank you, Matteo. You mentioned Daruma Design and creative direction. Many describe you as a disruptor, an innovator of the design industry. So what means creative director?
Creative direction means that, in my mind, means doing something that is good for you, good for your brand, good for innovation, and not necessarily the most logical thing to do. Because the minute you step up from the logic, you start doing something that doesn't exist. And that is good. That, to me, is the first step to innovation. What sometimes they call me the disruptor, perhaps because I believe in my life just following my instinct. I believe in my life doing something that felt good for me, something that felt good for my clients, something that I just felt good, and that wasn't really necessarily the most logical thing to do. That's how I changed career 18 years ago, with no money, no connection, in a different country. And everybody thought I was completely out of my mind, but I just didn't listen. I just took a student loan of £20,000, went back to school at 29 years old, and I just went completely against the stream, if you want. But it felt good to me, and I loved it, and I still love what I do after 18 years. I'm very grateful for that. So, disruptor, well, perhaps it's more genuine, or perhaps I just follow my instinct, and I help my client to do what is good for them. I help my client to think outside the box. I help my client to design as well something that doesn't exist. And that is good for the society, because innovation brings good energy for yourself as an entrepreneur, as a human, but also for your industry. So I would say creative direction is probably a good way to say, are you ready for a change? Can you embrace that change? And if you are, it's going to be probably a scary ride at the beginning, because you're going to do something that the others are not really doing, or you're going to do something a bit different. But I'll tell you what, if you manage to grab that courage and use it, and use it to give you the good adrenaline, the good sort of courage, well, guess what? You're going to be a leader in the industry, and you're going to inspire yourself, you're going to inspire your friends, your competitors perhaps, and you're going to innovate. So that, to me, is probably the best description of disrupting the system and also innovate your system.
Thanks, Matteo. There is a lot in what you just said. I wanted to ask specifically. So we are aware that change is perceived from the brain as something scary. And as you said, especially when you're talking about your brand, your environment as well, professional, personal. Sometimes we, as normal human beings, are a bit resistant. So I would like to ask you, do you see some fear, or let's keep using resistance, from your clients, emotionally speaking and psychologically speaking? And how do you manage this dynamic when you are approaching a client or a project?
Yeah. First of all, fear is normal. We're humans, we're scared, and I'm scared. I'm scared, you know, being a human as well. But at the same time, there are two sides of the coins of fear and being scared. You can use it as a block or as an excuse to keep the status quo and follow the logic, follow your ego. The ego is the one that protects you and will never let you do something different, right? So you can embrace that and lock yourself into the comfortable corner, which, by the way, is going to get very uncomfortable very soon, but that's a different story. Or you can see the other side of the coin and embrace that fear and use that fear, that sort of adrenaline, to say, you know what, let me do something different. Let me really marinate and let it ferment it. And let's use that wonderful energy called fear and transform it into courage. To answer your question, the way I help the client to start navigating something they've never done before, I always tell them, look, to work together, perhaps we should look at three sort of angles. And first of all, the first sort of angle or new way of thinking is to find courage. You need to have the courage to do it. One thing is to say, show me something different. Let's just do something different. That's why clients come to us, because they heard that we're different, and we heard that we push a lot of design boundaries, and that's how usually we get awards for it. So one thing is to say, let's do something different. One thing is to actually do something different. And it's a fine line, but there's a really, really, really important move in that. The second thing is they need to trust. They need to trust not necessarily us as designers, because we've done this many, many times, but they need to trust to start navigating into the unknown. When we design something, it usually doesn't exist. So they can't really ask us for comparables. They need to really throw themselves into the unknown, which is scary. But at the same time, when you've got the right trust, it happens and it will surprise you. The last thing, which is probably the most important thing and the less rational thing, if you want, is to have the right attitude. Having the courage and do something that doesn't exist needs the right attitude. You can't really start changing or embracing a different emotion if you don't have the right attitude. It's almost like going to a meeting and start and finish the meeting with a crossed arm, right? And then you're smiling, you're nodding. At the same time, you know, you're not lying. You're there to fight against it. And what is the point to go into a meeting and crossing your arms? You just either go and have the right attitude and to embrace that change and navigate through the fear that comes with it, or maybe just wait a bit more until you're ready. What I can reassure my clients is the fact that it's going to be very chaotic. It could be quite scary. At the end of the journey, it will be beautiful. It will be fulfilling. It will be so inspiring.
Thanks, Matteo. I'm understanding there is a psycho-emotional journey from the client side as well. As you pointed, change, it might feel scary. And innovation or disruption is literally at the extreme of change.
Yes.
Change for something that has never been seen before. You mentioned attitude, and I'm hearing mindset. In order to be innovators or disruptors, you must have the right mindset. I'm stepping into the leadership topic, and I wanted to ask, to what degree do you think that leadership starts from self-leadership? Like being able to understand your emotions, your feelings, determine what thoughts do you want to have approaching a meeting, approaching a contract, and how to use those emotions in a way that is positive. You just mentioned transforming fear into courage. Use the fear as an energy. So as a leader, how do you think self-leadership might be the key?
It's fascinating, I think, because you don't understand it until you know that you understand it. It's almost like design. You don't really understand design until someone starts either educating yourself into design, or you start realizing what good design is all about, because it's very subjective. It's not tangible. We're not talking about data. We're talking about feelings, emotion, triggers, if you want. So you don't understand that self-leadership or balance, if you want, is important until you face the fact that it's not just important, it's crucial. Because like design, I always say good design is all about balance. And it's completely unrelated to that kind of design that you're doing. You can do a beautiful minimalistic scheme, yet you need balance. You can do a very, very maximalistic space full of colors, patterns, and layers, yet you need balance. So it doesn't really matter how many colors, how many patterns, how rich your design is, you need balance. So thanks to you, you open a kind of different worlds into my new way of thinking about leadership, because the minute I realized with you that without self-leadership, balance, understanding internal emotions was the first step to go to the next level leadership, I didn't really understand it. Now I do understand it, and it's crucial, because how can I really be a leader or help my clients to be leaders in the industry without understanding that without internal balance, internal leadership, I don't have the foundations. I wouldn't have the foundations. So you always start from the base. You always start from the inside. Then once you get the inside balance, once your inside has got the perfect environment, then you can go outside, just be yourself. It's just fantastic. You work really hard at the beginning, and once you get that right, when you go outside, it's almost like effortless, and it's magical. But it takes a massive switch at the beginning to understand it. And as I said before, until you understand it, it's crucial. You just don't understand it.
Love your comment, Matteo. Thanks, first of all. I really appreciate it. And I'm an ambassador of the quote, everything starts with us.
Mm-hmm.
So if the inside, the inner self is balanced, in equilibrium, then outside you can show and perform authentically, like nature. And of course, it feels effortless because it's natural to you. You're not acting, you're not faking, you're not even thinking how to behave. It becomes natural.
Yeah.
Matteo, you are lucky enough to travel and deliver speeches and inspire many different communities. And last month I saw you, or I heard you've been to Portugal twice. You oftentimes go to Italy as well. And the most recent, I think, if I didn't miss any, was at the Italian Parliament in Rome, at the Chamber of Deputies. I've heard your speech, and it was inspirational for sure, disruptive as well. I would ask, you do a lot of public speaking, and I was curious to ask you the correlation between emotions and a public speaking. Like, how do you prepare? What emotions you go through? I'll leave it to you. I'm sure many of our watchers are public speakers as well. So you have a good experience and in great places as well. So I might foresee that you're gonna have your emotions, your inner thought. So how emotional intelligence help public speaking?
First of all, I always surprise myself when I'm, let's say, on stage, because if you met me many years ago, even sort of 15 years ago, I was so introverted and shy. I just can't believe I go on stage. I'm so comfortable with it. If you met me as a teenager or as a boy, I wouldn't speak. I was always, I was much more comfortable to be silent and always been introverted rather than extroverted. I suppose I was very, very fortunate actually at the beginning of this new career to do a course on public speaking, and I always recommend everyone, especially my industry, especially my younger students or young colleagues, do a course on public speaking, because you can be the best creative in the world, or you can be you can be a real innovator, but you need to be able to communicate that message. And then after that, to answer your question, nowadays, I do think, kind of briefly, the sort of points I want to convey into the public speaking. But most of the time, I try to relax a bit more. Perhaps I try to meditate in the morning, like before. I try to balance myself. And then I just go on stage, and with some sort of few key points in mind, I literally free flow, literally myself. So it's a kind of a mix of having an intent to say what you think you're saying, but at the same time just being very, very natural. Because to me, it's the best way to convey the message. Just be yourself. And once you're yourself, it just gets a bit easier, isn't it?
Definitely, we say being natural is the best thing that we can do as humans. Yeah, just be natural, just be you.
There's something else actually, if I may, because obviously I've been having the privilege to live in London, to get access to a lot of events, a lot of panels, and all that. And I always try to put myself into the audience mind. If I'm spending an hour, 2 hours, half an hour, whatever it might take to go to an event, I like to leave with something that triggers my mind or perhaps inspires me. I would like to leave that panel or that event and say, wow, I learned something new. Oh, I heard something new. That person made me think. And if I close my eyes and I see properly, I think about all the panels I've been in the last sort of 10, 15 years. There are only a few whereby I left and I was so inspired by that person on stage. Or I left and said, wow, I had something new. Oh, whoa. Now, this is something that made me really think. So I suppose when I'm on stage, I like to be very spontaneous, but also I like to share something that they wouldn't expect, or something that I hope they're going to take it with them and help them to think a bit different. Because I'm very grateful that they came to watch myself and the other members of the panel, and the least I can do is just leave something for them, and hopefully that something is going to be a beginning of a change or, you know, something they never heard about.
Yeah, give inspiration and leave something.
Yes, leave behind. Yeah.
I know we just crossed 20 minutes, so I don't want to take too much of your time. I still have two questions.
Sure.
So the first one is you are the owner of a design school. It's called the Design Maestros.
Yes, indeed.
I would specifically ask, how do you communicate to your students to embrace their emotions and understand clients' emotions in order to design something inspiring?
There's something that keep repeating, and even to my kids actually, because I'm lucky enough to have two young kids, and is the fact to be comfortable to be different. It took me a while because nobody ever told me this. I wish someone told me. When I was a teenager, or when I went through my the beginning of my career. And funny enough, it took me a few years to be very comfortable to be myself as a designer, and that's why I'm very, very grateful that at the moment I'm very comfortable that you're calling me an instructor. Yeah, fair enough. I feel very well in my shoes, but it took me a long, long time to wear those sort of shoes and walk with those shoes and enjoy those sort of shoes. The first message I like to lead to my students is it's okay to be different. Actually, it's wonderful to be different. Embrace it and build a business around that. It will take probably longer. It will take a while. It will be very hard. But once you know that you're not going to lie to yourself and you're going to be yourself, it will get easier, and you never know that you're actually working through the day. You're just doing something that you absolutely love. So first message is, yeah, just have the courage to be different. And the second one, I would say, it's a very tough industry. It's very competitive, and I think resilience is probably the thing that they need to work on, and we all need to work. You know, just be resilient, and you know, don't take a no for an answer. You know, it's the amount of mistakes I've done in my career, amount of times I've been slapped left, right. It's completely. I don't even want to know. I don't even remember. I will keep doing mistakes. I will keep being slapped left and right, but that's part of the journey. So having the resilience um, to still going ahead to what you think is right. Obviously, there's a bit of logic. You know, you're running a business. You need to be mindful. You know, London is not the least expensive city in the world, so numbers and finance and cash flow do play a massive role. But once you take that part out of the equation, it's all about your values, your integrity as well. Perhaps that's the third important thing they need to understand. Keep your integrity. And once your integrity is solid, you just feel good, and it's just not negotiable, is it?
Super. It's a very great comment, Matteo. And in conclusion, I mean, we are heading towards the end of this interview. If you would suggest to other leaders, colleagues, business owners, what would you say to those that are still not sure to embark on an emotional intelligence coaching journey and embrace their emotions, so to understand their clients' emotions as well, or public speakers? What would be your suggestion to someone that is a 50-50 on embracing emotional intelligence coaching?
I would say that since I started to work with you, I now understand that probably There's half of the world who doesn't even know what it is and doesn't even understand it, which is fine. And the other ones that understood and started are like, wow, you know, these are the new superpowers. You know, why did it take me so long to know that and master it, or trying to master it, which is fine, because it just happens at the right time in your life or when you're ready for it. So, you know, to the skeptical ones, or to the ones that never heard about this, I would say, don't even think about it. Just try. It's almost like trying a new dish. Try that. You know, don't even think what it tastes, smells, or look. Just go for it. Try, give it a go, taste it, and then see how you feel. And if it doesn't feel good, maybe it's not the right time. But if it does taste good, just keep using the ingredients into your life and into your career, because it's probably one of the most powerful ingredients. And once you try that, it's just, there's no way back, because once you really understand your emotions, and to me, what was very powerful is to understand my emotional triggers. I didn't get that till we started to work together. And now it's so useful and powerful, for that matter, that I know exactly what are my emotional triggers. And when that trigger, or when that emotion or that value is touched, I know it. I'm aware of it. I can detect it. I acknowledge that. I dissolve it. I move on. And as simple as it is, I feel like a completely different person. Dad, most of all, entrepreneur. Without being too arrogant, I really feel that I'm not scared of anything else. I feel invincible, because it's almost, I know that I have a new way of reading. Someone like learning another language. That can speak every single language. I can go into a room, understand, detect, acknowledge, and do my own thinking. And most of all, what I find it even more fascinating is understanding where you are out of sync, or you're out of balance. Because there are moments, when running a business or being a leader, like we all know that, sometimes it's very lonely where we are, or sometimes it's very, very hard. Challenges happen every day, especially when you're self-employed. And as much as you should be aware where you're asking a bit too much for your body, you're aware that, oh, I've done that before. Are we, let's just make sure that we slow down, because we might have another burnout. And we did it before, and we should be wise and clever enough not to go that way. Let me slow down. Well, it's the same with your emotions, with your mind. When you kind of get that sort of sensor that you're out of sync, or emotionally you're imbalanced, if you are a good and clever entrepreneur or a leader, you start working on that. You step back and say, okay, well, let's just recalibrate here. Let's just start from the basics. Let's get the emotions right. Then you go out there. When you go out there and you are balanced again, or when when you go into that boardroom and you're very, very self-centered, well, guess what? You can discuss anything in that boardroom. You're literally not scared about anything.
Love that, Matteo. I'm really grateful.
Well, I'm grateful to you that you opened that sort of world to me, to be honest.
Matteo, you did the job. So I'm a facilitator. Yeah, I don't do the job for other people. But you had the openness. You mentioned balance and equilibrium. Listen to your body, and I really love the analogy of speaking a new language. The language of emotions is as a creative from you, I wasn't expecting anything less than that. But yeah, it's a very good definition, and I really loved it. Is there anything else you want to share before saying goodbye to each other?
Well, to be honest, I'll probably keep repeating myself, but I like to tell anyone out there who's listening to this, just it's really okay to be different. Not just embrace. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful new reality, and yeah, just go for it. And also, can I actually? I like to add something else, because it's that there is we live in a very specific moment in our society. There's a lot of chaos out there. There's a lot of fear. I think for whatever is happening around us, without getting political or biased, you know, it's quite scary out there, and there's a lot of chaos. This is the best time, or a fantastic time, to start innovating. And our tagline says that we love turning chaos into order with style. And perhaps that tagline can be very useful for everyone. When there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of order. We just need to fine tune and grab the opportunity and move on. So, you know, to all our friends out there that go through the same chaotic journey and very confusing journey that we all are at the moment, let's use this chaos to find some order and move on, because it's a wonderful moment to do it.
Love it, Matteo. In chaos, there are opportunities.
Yes, a lot.
Thank you, Matteo. I'm very grateful
Thank you.
for this
Thank you too.
interview, and your will
Pleasure
to share your expertise. So I wish you all the best. Keep being disruptive and impactful.
I will. I promise that.
Thank you, Matteo.
Cool. Take care. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.